The first trauma, I was raped between the ages of 9 and 10. What happened to me was not acceptable, but I chose to keep it a secret. And that secret ate away at me for my entire adult life. Made decisions that I will regret forever, and I've now got to live with, deal with.
This is CorperNews. Welcome to In Focus. I'm Ujuku Helen, and with me is a cyclist by the name
Maurice Edelson.
Maurice Edelson. Now let's get right to your story.
Thanks.
What do you mean by Unspoken to Unbroken?
So Unspoken to Unbroken for me is revealing my truths and parts of my life that I kept a secret for 43 years, which stems from struggles that I had as a young child and a young adult.
Okay, how has it been so far from the first day you started your journey of self-recovery and healing?
It's been very interesting. So I think as I left the UK, lots of excitement, but very quickly I realized that my bicycle was like being in a therapy room.
Okay.
And I had my own therapist. I could spend time on my own, dealing with my thoughts, dealing with my past, shouting at the universe when I needed to. And it's been an incredible journey of self-healing and telling my story. So on my platform, I share various parts of my past and parts of the mistakes I made and my regrets and the remorse that I have. And by sharing it, relieves me of some of the burden. So the results have been quite amazing, actually.
Okay, talking about your story, I've been to your page of most of your videos. Let's talk about your trauma and the effect it had in your life. Okay,
well, I mean, there were two traumas, and I talk about them openly. So the first trauma, I was raped between the ages of 9 and 10. And the second trauma in my early adult life, I was rejected by somebody who was very, very close to me and who I was emulating. I wanted to be just like. The combination of those two traumas is what affected me for the rest of my life. Now, what happened to me was not acceptable. It sounds horrific, and it was. The fact of the matter is it's not actually the trauma that caused the problem. It's the way I dealt with it afterwards, and I chose not to ask for help. I still to this day am not sure why. I had incredible parents who would have helped me, but I chose to keep it a secret. And that secret ate away at me for my entire adult life and drove me to make bad decisions and made decisions that I will regret forever, and I've now got to live with, deal with, and move on.
Let's start from the beginning of your trauma. The first one is the rape. Who raped you?
So it was a family friend. It wasn't anybody in my house or at my school, so it was an acquaintance. And it happened outside the home.
A male and female?
No.
The male raped you, and there was no one you could run to?
Well, there was. There was my parents, there was my family. As I said, it's one of the aspects I don't understand, why as a child, a 9-10-year-old, I don't know why I didn't ask for help. I blamed myself, and I've spent my whole life feeling that it was my fault that it happened, and that I was the problem and I was at fault. And it's only now, 43 years later, so literally just over a year ago, that I started talking about it.
Well, did it occur multiple times?
Yes.
Multiple times?
Yes. Occurred multiple times over a period of about 6-7 months.
And after 43 years old, you have finally opened up and said your truth. The rapist in question, did he actually get apprehended?
He's passed away long ago. He's no longer here. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not looking for revenge. I'm not looking to seek revenge or punish anybody for what was done. To be perfectly honest, the two traumas. So the first trauma was horrific. It was shocking. The second trauma probably had as much, if not more, effect. It was the combination of the two.
Let's talk about the second trauma. How were you rejected?
So I had a mentor who I spent my whole life trying to be just like. I wanted to learn from that person. I wanted to be just like that person. I wanted to be successful. It was a male, and it wasn't my father. It was somebody who was like a father to me in many ways. And I did everything I possibly could to be like him and to be what he expected me to be. And one day he just cut me off, and the relationship ended. It stopped. We never discussed it. We never resolved it. There was a situation that took place, and he blamed me for that. It was a business situation, and I lost my entire connection with one of the most important people in my life, and that had a hugely detrimental effect on my life. It was the first time I thought about suicide, and it was, again, something I never ever told anybody how it affected me. While I was struggling at that time, the reasons I gave for struggling was the fact that the business I was in at the time had failed, and I used that as the excuse, not the relationship. So again, I kept a secret, and so the combination of those two secrets is what affected my life going forward and what made me make bad decisions going forward.
In the second, I understand the first part, but in the second trauma, who did you keep it a secret from?
Everybody. I didn't tell anybody why I was upset, why I was hurting. I didn't tell anybody I was hurting. So I pretended life was perfect and it was fine. So I spent my life, I've come to learn that I've spent my life pleasing everybody around me, trying to be the person everybody wants me to be instead of the person I want to be.
Okay.
And that is the struggle. So when you walk into a room or you sit at a dinner table, I'm not being my genuine self. I literally would read the room and I would decide what they needed me to be and how I needed to behave in order for them to see me as a success. And so I was living a double life. I was living a life where I was pretending to be someone, and that wasn't the person I wanted to be.
Let's talk about cycling. When did you start?
So I've always ridden bicycles. I've always enjoyed cycling, not to the extent that I'm riding now. That's another level. I enjoy sport generally, and certainly the last 15 years of my life to stay healthy is a priority and keep fit. The cycling came as part of this healing process. I went through a period, 18 months ago I got divorced, and I needed a change in my life, and I needed to find a new purpose for my life. So I was at a crossroad in my 50s, and I realized I was fit, I was healthy, and theoretically I had no responsibilities. It wasn't, normally at that stage of your life you are working to retirement, you've got a career, etc. And all of that had sort of stopped, and I was free of all that responsibility. So for the first time I had the opportunity to, let's call it, start over.
Okay.
And so the bicycle, I was looking for something that would challenge me. I was looking for something that would help me find my purpose, and I was looking for something that would help me heal. And I looked at various options. The bicycle suited my needs in the sense I could cover enough ground. It was solitary, I could do it on my own, and yet I could still be in touch with people. So if I was on a motorbike or a car traveling the world, you got a helmet on or you're inside the motor car, you cannot, people won't connect with you, they won't stop. On the bicycle, I'm stopped regularly. People will stop me, invite me for lunch, coffee, tea. I'm meeting people all the time on my bicycle. So it's doing that aspect has been incredible. It's been so nice to meet people. And that's a huge part of my healing. Understanding that people are generally good. Understanding that most people out there are good people. And understanding that what I've thought was community and structure is not necessarily right. What I'm learning in West Africa, in this part of my journey, is people are incredibly hospitable. They're kind, they're community orientated, they know what their neighbour is up to, they know if their neighbour is struggling. That's not something you're accustomed to in many parts of the world. A lot of people live their own life, and if somebody's struggling next door, they look the other way. So that's, for me, that's the positive input that I'm using to heal.
So when you started, Like when you had that courage to set off with your life, did you have any doubt whatsoever? Any type of setback?
So it's interesting. I mean, I've always been a goal setter, and I've always been somebody who strives to achieve. When I decided to do this, I had so many people saying, "You're crazy. What are you doing? Why would you want to do this in your 50s?"
Okay.
I then sat with some friends and some partners, and I sort of said, if you start working it out, and the distance and the travel and the cost and everything else, how do I start? And a few of my friends and ex-business partners, actually just the one person in particular said, "Maurice, just start. Don't get the plan perfect before you leave, because you'll never leave." And I think that's a good lesson in life. So often we focus on the problems that stop us doing things instead of the solution. And I've come away from that saying, well, the challenge is getting to, so the first stage of my journey is Cape Town. It's 17,000 kilometers from the UK. If I focus on 17,000 kilometers, it's overwhelming. It's daunting. It's like, wow, how do you do that? So my focus is a very simple one. I worry about today and tomorrow. If I can do what I set out to do today, and I can repeat that tomorrow, that's all I need to focus on. And then when I look back 6 months later, I've now done 11,000 kilometers. Cape Town's not so far. So
how many countries have you rode past?
I've ridden through to get here, 14 countries.
Okay. Apart from cycling, what or who else helped you overcome this trauma?
So in my life, I've seen 17 therapists.
Okay.
16 of them, I never told the truth. So what I've just told you now, I didn't tell the first 16 therapists.
Okay.
So they couldn't help. My last therapist that I saw before I left on the journey, for the first time, I stood outside that door and I said, I'm going to take this opportunity to put everything on the table. And it's the first time somebody could sit down and actually help me. So the first time I sat down with a professional and I put all my cards on the table. At the same time, I told my mother, I told my sister, and I started sharing some of my struggles with a handful of people around me. And that was to test the water, to see what the reaction would be, because in my mind, people were going to reject me, people were going to push me away, nobody would help me. And it was the total opposite. So the minute one person showed me that, no, they actually can support me, the second person was a little bit easier, the third person was a bit easier. And that's what my last therapist helped me with. We came up with a plan. How do we start telling people? How do we start telling our truth? How do we start sharing that other people can learn from our mistakes? So my focus is if I tell my truth and I don't keep it a secret, then maybe the mistakes and the errors I've made in my past can help somebody else, and then it hasn't been for nothing.
Okay.
And if people can learn from my mistakes and not make the same mistakes,
so why didn't you tell your truth from the beginning? Why blame yourself?
I think it's very difficult to answer that, because I think, number one, as a child, you don't have the maturity, your brain is not developed. So I have a fair knowledge on mental health. So what happens is your prefrontal cortex, which is this part of your brain, is only fully developed at 25. And that's where logic comes in. Prior to that, all decisions are emotional. And at 9 and 10, I just didn't have the ability to you become your own worst enemy. And that's where I got trapped. I got trapped in causing myself harm over and over again, punishing myself for what I had done over and over again. And I couldn't get myself out.
Okay, punishing yourself over and over again. Is that why you kept silent for over 43 years?
100%. I felt like nobody would understand and nobody would accept me if they knew the truth.
All right. Now you've spoken your truth. And how far has your voice and experience reached?
It's overwhelming because, number one, I've had people reach out to me that I haven't spoken to since I finished school in 1990 and earlier.
They'll be shocked to hear the story.
Absolutely, and a lot of them knew me at that time, and they've reached out. Every single one has been supportive. Every single person has sort of said, "We're here for you." What's been amazing is how many people have shared their story. And for me, it tells me that my journey is, the purpose is being served. And by me telling my story, it is reaching the right people. So I have, besides my followers, every day I have people messaging me in private, telling me what's happened to them that they've never shared. And we then help each other. And we heal each other. And so that process is something I could never have expected. I set off on this journey saying if I help one person, I'm happy. There's probably 30 people that we're talking to on a regular basis. We don't talk in groups, it's more private, one-on-one. And the most amazing different struggles. I've got people who were thrown into the army and had to do things that they've never dealt with and they've got nobody to talk to people who had rapes and similar experiences to mine, but people who have felt trapped and unable to speak to anyone are starting to talk to me. So how far has it reached? It's amazing. I'm talking to people in Australia, I'm talking to people throughout Africa, I'm talking to people in the UK, I'm talking to people in the States. I don't have a massive following, but I've got a really good following. I've got more people than I expected to actually touch and reach.
Do you have any charity activities going on?
Yeah, so at the moment what I'm trying to do, when I talk about finding my purpose, is I'm young enough to still find something to do. And for the rest of my life, I've got to do something that makes me happy. So I've realized that as much as I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, and being an entrepreneur, you chase money and success and things. And I've lived a good life, and I've had success and I've had failures. But if I'm really honest with myself, the parts that have really excited me is when I employ people and I see their lives changing. I see the people that I bring into the companies that I start. I can see them helping their families and that extending. So what I'm doing on this journey is I'm helping young people off the street into education and onto bicycles. So that's my focus. My intention is to set up a proper NGO around that throughout West Africa at this stage. I've aligned myself with a group in Freetown who's been taking children off the street for a while. I put 5 children back into school for a year a week ago. I'm busy working with 15 young adults who we're trying to get them scholarships to go and study in America and Canada. So it's not my money, it's people who follow, it's people in my network. I try and put people together and we try and help these youngsters. My belief is that if we use sport and we take these young people and we give them a passion, we give them something that they can commit to and they can put discipline to with the training and everything, they can apply that skill to anything.
A better person.
100% a better person, but also a more successful person. So it's the group that I'm working with, he's got 27 young people in his club, called the Flames Club in Freetown. They had 3 people who represented Sierra Leone at the World Championships in Rwanda. They've come off the street. They've had no privileged background. They've had no... it's unbelievable. And there's 3 of them now 2 from that club that have moved to Dubai and are working in cycling shops in Dubai, and they're now cycling all around the world competitively. So I think if you give young people a passion, if you teach them what it is to set goals, and I'd like to mentor those people along the way and give them tools that you don't get at school, it'll elevate them to a level that they're not going to get to under normal circumstances. I think education is just one step of the journey.
All right, thank you very much. Let's take a break and we'll be right back with the last part of the story.